Hey everybody, this is the 20-gallon tank I have in my wife's room, and I've been treating it for cyanobacteria, which is why we have the air stone going in there at the moment. And the treatment is done, well, at least the first dose of the treatment is done. Once we get in there, I'm going to have a look at it, I'm going to do a water change, and if it needs it, I'm going to go ahead and do a second dosage, and we'll just turn the air stone back on. So let me get started, and the next look we're going to have at the tank will be with the air stone turned off after a water change, and we will see how good it looks then, and we can decide where we're going to go from there. Alright, so we finished the water change, and I did find some additional cyanobacteria in there. Some leaves still had a lot of green on them, and it was just, definitely didn't look like it was finished. And so far, every time I've ever treated for cyanobacteria, I've always had to do more than one treatment, and it always comes back anyway. So we're going to do a second treatment. As a matter of fact, I've already got the medication in the tank already, so this is going to be a short wrap-up. I don't want to leave it in there without that air stone running for very long. But this gives you a look inside the tank. It looks a lot cleaner. All that Java back there, that actually is growing on a piece of wood. You can kind of see the piece of wood in that back left corner. So I sort of shoved that off to the side to make a little more open space. You can see some of the rocks at the bottom. Believe it or not, this tank is actually scaped. I've got rocks and caves and pieces of wood and things on the bottom. But all this monster Java moss has pretty much grown over top of everything. Here, let's have a look down inside, see if we can see a little bit more in there. So there you go. That was just your little look at this tank. We will do some more video on it in a few days when I get in there and wrap it up completely, but for now we're going to call it good. I got to get that air stone turned back on, which will more or less obscure our view of the tank anyway. So make sure you're subscribed, and then that way you won't miss any of the updates I've got going on when I do a little more work to this tank. One thing I will point out while I'm standing here and I'm thinking about it, I don't know how well it's coming across on video, but if you can see the air line and there's some air bubbles in this tank, if you've got an air line like this in your tank and it's running and actively pumping air, you're fine. The moment you stop and you simply unplug your air line, or your air pump rather, and you leave the line in this tank, just by capillary action, very slowly, water will work its way up and out of here, and you will actually inadvertently set up a siphon. And I've seen it happen before. I've actually done it before. You can have either just a little bit of a slow drip where you notice you're getting a wet spot down below your tank, or if enough water starts flowing, you can actually get a siphon set up where you get a nice little steady drip coming out of that hose. Now, a larger tank would obviously take quite a long time to drain it out, but if you've got an air stone in a little 10-gallon tank and you shut the air off overnight, you might come down to a wet floor and a half-empty tank in the morning or something. So keep in mind, if you've got an air stone and an air line going into your tank, either get one of those valves that prevents backflow, or keep the air pump turned on at all times. If the power goes out and you know your air pump is turned off or something, tend to that. Make sure you're aware that that can set up a siphon and start draining your tank just because there's no air actively pumping through it anymore. So again, on that note, I'm going to call this video good and say thanks for watching. Once again, I'll also ask you to subscribe. That way you won't miss any of the updates on this tank or anything else I've got going on. I am going to go do a water change in my living room tank right now. So if you want to see what that tank looks like, you're subscribed. You won't miss any of that. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you real soon on the next one.